I apologise. I'm going to the Times Front Page Festival before going to your chosen subject, which was Scotland's economy. Petrol may soon be cheaper than water. One may lead to the other, of course. But they're really talking now, or several banks are now talking about the fact that prices might drop to $10 a barrel, which would be extraordinarily low, wouldn't it? The significance of this is what?
Well, the two sides to the argument. One is that it's good for consumers, and that it's good for people who fill up their tank every day, and good for certain elements of the economy in that regard. The Prime Minister made that point in Prime Minister's questions today. But it was also made the case that we see more and more that actually a plummeting oil price with the knock-on effects of job losses and the lack of investment and off a little bit, and Scotland's going to feel.
Manufacturing has sunk to an even further low recently in this country than before. By this country, I mean England.
That's right, and I think Scotland is feeling the pinch from perhaps a slightly lower base of a slowing economy nationwide.
But the reason, obviously, we're always interested in Scotland is because of this possibility of Scotland being on its own, being autonomous, and what economically would be viable. And if you remember, of course, a lot of the discussion about Scottish independence was to do with whether there was a credible economic model for that. And many people thought that that just simply wasn't plausible. And we knew that historically, and I think this sort of story is really consolidating the idea that we're seeing that in the future as well.
And there was a concern, wasn't there, that Scotland has an ageing population greater than the UK average, and that would also be concerns because the pension book, therefore, would be high.
Of course, and all of these things, which actually rely heavily on an infrastructure that's wider than Scottish nationalism, are going to be hugely impacted by things like demographics. If you then bring into the equation, as you say, things like pensions bills, never mind the actual impact of not having such a big working population, potentially, it is going to mean that the economic question around viability working as a country on their own is really in question again.
The extraordinary thing for the SNP is that they seem to be able to get away with anything. The fact that the oil price is now where it is means that if Scotland were an independent country now, with an oil price of $30 a barrel, possibly going down to $10 a barrel, they would be utterly bankrupt and knocking on the door north of the border again. But it doesn't seem to affect them in the polls. The SNP have captured this something bigger than economic specifics or reality, because they're still set to sweep the board at Scottish elections coming up. They're an extraordinary political success, even in the face of a dire economic reality. Even in the face of a dire economic reality.